And the again, I said it earlier, this too shall pass. Right? That I think somebody once said fear is false expectations appearing real.
Yeah.
We will make up the worst case scenario in our head.
It's just human default.
It is. It's almost like a defense mechanism.
It
You know,
is. It's a fight or flight survival thing that don't ever expect it to go away. All you can do is be aware of it and channel it.
All you can do is aware of a challenge. Maybe even it makes sense in times like this to go search out a professional.
Absolutely. Coaching, consulting, therapy, whatever.
Maybe it's a business consultant. Funny enough, I just hired a business consultant this week. I said to him, hey, there's 6 or 7 areas in my business that are inefficient right now. I want you to come in. I want you to fix them for me because I want to be prepped for January. So that was a business consultant. Maybe it's a mental health professional where you're like, I just got to go out and like dump all this stuff on somebody because I don't want to burden my husband or my wife or my friends or my kid. I need to talk to a professional, right? There's a lot of tools out there that you can tap into that can help you. The tide goes out, the tide comes in. So one of my favorite saying, tide goes out, tide comes in. Never get too high when the highs are high and never get too low when the lows are low, because the world always perpetually moves in a consistent positive direction. But when you zone in on it, there's dips and ups and downs and ups. And if you get too wrapped up in those downs, it can completely derail your mindset.
Absolutely. And I'll leave off with, in the investment world, there's a book called The Fourth Turning. I think it's called The Fourth Turning, right? Okay. Where they say everything goes in cycles. I have another one here from Ray Dalio, The Changing World Order, I'm looking at right now, and The Fourth Turning. Right. These are books that, from an investment standpoint, which we started with, everything tends to go in cycles. Right. And first turning, second turning, third turning, fourth turning. And the fourth turning is when things really sort of get chaotic and break down before they can go back to the first turning, which is when prosperity starts again. And a lot of these really smart historians and authors who've written versions of the fourth turning for the last few decades. The guy's name who wrote it, it's over here somewhere. Here it is. Neil Strauss, I think it is, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Neil Strauss, right? So the fourth turning. I'm seeing the fourth turning being referenced in a lot of financial models right now. And we're in that fourth turning, so they say, right, where things will be chaotic and you've got to be hyper aware of what's going on, because coming out of it will be the greatest opportunities of all for building businesses and investing, right? So you can easily get stuck in the so-called fourth turning and be really defensive and down.
Yep.
Or you can be down. It's cool. You can be defensive. Great. I like to be pragmatic. I always look at the negative side of things, and I immediately am skeptical of things. That's a smart way that I think everybody should be. And then from there, you can at least go, okay, well, where are the opportunities?
Yep.
Right. Or where will the opportunities be? To my point earlier, I talked about gold, silver, Bitcoin, right? Which those things are shaping up to be tremendous opportunities in chaotic times. So that opportunity is now. What does it mean when the fourth turning flips and it becomes a first turning and things become more prosperous? Not really sure, but those are values of wealth. Those are assets, right? So what assets can you be looking at acquiring? And then what business model can you be looking at going into or creating or adjusting now if you're already in business?
Yeah, my financial advisor always says the stock market is the only business on earth when everything goes on sale, everybody freaks out negatively.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's one of the weirdest psychological phenomenons, coming from being a financial advisor for 10 years, early in the 90s and into early 2000s. I'm like, man, people never want to buy when things are down. It's amazing. They just want to chase things. It's so crazy to me.
I looked at the crypto market over the last week, and it was on a pretty consistent slide for the last 2 weeks. I don't know which element was creating that downward pressure.
Yeah, it dipped below the 60,000 mark for a little while.
Yeah, the whole market was down. And I was thinking to myself, ooh, I'm going to buy a bunch more. And then all of a sudden I looked at it last night and it
65,000, boom.
It had surged, right? Yeah. And so when you're looking, again, this kind of goes back to mindset, right? The biggest opportunities are in times of chaos, in times of stagnation, but it's about saying to yourself, I'm not going to go run and hide. I'm not going to play defense. I want to play offense. How do I take advantage of this situation? Because that's when, the lion's share of wealth is made in a lot of different industries, is when you take advantage of bad situations.
Buffett will say it all the time, right? Buffett comes back to it all the time when there's blood in the streets, right? But it isn't just about taking advantage of opportunity. It's also understanding what's going on in the cycle so you
Yep.
can be better prepared for the next one. Because
Absolutely.
as you said, the ebbs and flows, we're talking today about fourth quarter every 4 years. Fourth quarter every year is a challenge with the holidays and year-end stuff.
Mhm.
But then it's even more of a challenge to the point of the show today where you have an election cycle every 4 years, which compounds the already sluggishness of a fourth quarter and holidays and people sort of checking out early. You have that now happening times 2 every 4 years. So really good to be aware of every little facet of what's happening in the investment world, in the business world, in the economic world, not just sitting and waiting and watching and being told what to think by CNN, right? It's digging down and analyzing every aspect of what's going on. So A, you can respond quick, and B, you can be better prepared next time. That's the takeaway here today, if you ask me.